Hi, and welcome back to Unfiltered Psyche. In the last episode, we talked about what is healing, how one can heal, how one can start to heal. And in that episode, I somewhat mentioned about understanding patterns. So today, I thought I would talk about what patterns are. So, what is a pattern? A pattern is something that is repetitive in nature. It can be thoughts, it can be feelings or emotions, it can be behaviors and actions. And all these repetitive behaviors or actions and thoughts are unconscious in nature. It is not consciously done, it is unconsciously that is popping up in nature in your life. So, you meeting the same type of people which are toxic, or maybe that is not resonating in your frequency, you talking about certain topics, that also is something that is out of a pattern. You having certain behaviors and actions, those are also patterns. An example that I can give you, or maybe few examples that I can give you, is brushing your teeth, which is a healthy pattern. Doing your dishes, helping in the household chores, making sure that you have many things accommodated in your daily time schedule. All those are healthy patterns. What can be unhealthy patterns then? This is very tricky, and everyone can relate to this. Unhealthy patterns are those patterns which do not serve you in the long run. So, suppose if someone, even at the slightest way, rejects you, you get emotional and you just shut down, you don't talk to them, you can't take constructive criticism. Somebody even remotely suggesting something to you and maybe not doing something up to your standards, that would actually trigger you. You shut down, you move away, you do not talk about that, you skip it. These are all things that happen. Maybe you shout. All those things are an unhealthy way of handling the situations, right? So those are the things which we call as patterns. It can happen to any aspect of your life, even money. It can be your relationships. It can be any relationships, by the way. It can be to your peers, your teachers, your parents, your family, your cousins, the neighbors, anywhere, anytime, everywhere. Okay, so how are patterns formed? This is a beautiful thing that I really love to go through. So the first one that I will say is that we psychologists say conditioning. So what is conditioning? When you start as a child, a baby, you have a clean slate. You have nothing, you are just like a dry sponge. Okay, all things that you see, you hear, these are absorbed into that sponge. Okay, so the whole point is that you have nothing in you and you are absorbing everything. So suppose that your parents were emotionally unavailable, which means to say that they don't express their emotions in the way that you are told to. Okay, so you will also tend to become that kind of a person who do not express their feelings emotionally, and you do not have that capacity to go through that emotional situation because you don't know how to process, because there were no good role models. Then there are certain aspects, maybe anger. Let's take anger, which is very common. So anger is also conditioned to a certain extent. To a certain extent, suppose you don't know how to talk in a very constructive way, express your emotions and feelings or thoughts in a very constructive way, you resort to anger. You resort or you first start with upset, and then it turns into anger. So what happens is you have not seen a healthy way of conversation, and when you are disappointed even at the slightest bit, you go into a fit of anger. So these are things that you actually see or hear from the family, from your surroundings, from the nature of your area. Supposing you have, and this implies for friendships as well, okay? Suppose you have a friend circle who do not express, who uses vulgar language. That vulgar language tends to be conditioned into your normal daily life practices. You have a friend group who does not talk about anything but just plays on with the flow. You will tend to be the person who would go with the flow and not take any decisions. Suppose you have no inspiration in the group, the same thing will happen to you having no inspirations at all. So these are all conditioned. So once the behavior is conditioned, it stays for life unless you want to change it. Then there is another way that patterns can take up shape. Trauma loops, we call it. Trauma loops is something where maybe you have heard about the flight, fight, freeze, fawn, and flop responses. So these F's, five F's, are basically situations in which you actually respond to. Suppose there is a situation of emergence coming in. There is a certain struggle that popped up, okay, in the family, and the immediate response to that is you turn into anger. That is fight. Then you hear the sad news and you can't take action. You freeze. Then there are certain elements in which you can't do anything and feel helpless. You fall. So this actually happens, and it's deep rooted, and it actually took place in somewhat in a past experience that you feel it has been triggered again. What happens is when you are in a fight or flight response, the problem is that you need to manually reset. There are people who can manually reset, there are people who automatically resets. But on a majority scale, you should understand the past is in the past. But if you consider the present to be somewhat similar to the past, these fight or flight responses can kick in. And unless and until you turn it off, this fight or flight pattern remains. Okay? And when it remains, even in the normal situations, you will go into the survival mode. That is why most people we feel are certain different as when it is in comparison to the situation. They act differently, not normally the way that they act. Not they act, or not normally the way that we tend to act in those situations. So these are called trauma loops. So this happens again, this manual reset is not happening, or the automatic reset is not happening. So when this happens, the same pattern will repeat. That is the second one. Then comes the third one, which is learned behavior. As I told, once it's conditioned, you understand that certain situations demand certain behavior. If you are good manipulator, everybody is in that sense. You know when and where to speak. We say this another term, learned helplessness. Basically, the whole problem is that learned behavior is something that you pick up through conditions and stimulus. So these patterns are conditioned. Then you learn these patterns at one point of time. You know to act this way in this behavior setting. You know how to act in this particular way or talk in this particular way when this situation pops up. This is called as learned behavior. An example that I want to give you is, suppose your parents say it's fine, leave it, let it be. Okay, this is very common in our society. When you say this, when you see that your parents don't make a conversation or a conversational effort to finish off that problem that is there, it is unsolved, it remains unsolved. So you see that pattern repeating so much that you learn that particular behavior, and you will tend to do that in your other relationships. So basically, it can be in your friend circle, leave it. I don't care. Let it be. Let's not talk about it. Leave it. It's of no use. And I see this happening in most of the relationships as well. And everybody knows that this happens. The girl has a problem, the boy has a problem, but they don't talk about it. Or the boy tends not to talk about it, or the girl tends not to talk about it. So it remains unresolved. So this is something that you have to know about patterns. Now, to talk about unhealthy patterns. When does a pattern become unhealthy? For that, you need to first understand what is unhealthy. When does something become unhealthy? Any sort of a problem becomes unhealthy when you understand that particular incident, situation, or response is not working out in the positive way that you think it was working out for you. Example, suppose I tend to get angry at people who gives me constructive or any sort of criticism or any advice. Okay, what will happen? I will go into a fit of anger. This is my normal response. Now, when I understand that the other person is not having a good time with my response, I can understand that it is not a healthy pattern. If I constantly am a person who bitches about things, who talks negative about things, and I got to know from a person that it is an unhealthy behavior of yours, of mine. When I understand that it is not working for me, that becomes unhealthy. So there is this thing called as awareness. So unless and until you are not aware, it's not unhealthy. And I wouldn't say it's healthy even. It is just because of lack of awareness is there. So what are the signs of unhealthy behavior patterns or any unhealthy patterns? Knowing about the pattern or knowing about the unhealthy particular reason or the pattern and still not taking action, that is the first red flag that you need to know. The second one is that you can predict your emotions and you don't take action on it. Supposing, let's take anger or sadness. Let's say that I am a person who tends to peek into the negative side of things. I'm a pessimist. Okay. If I understand that and I know my emotions are mostly into the negative side of things, once I understand, I need to change. So the awareness part comes there. So understanding your emotional triggers and not taking action. That is a second red flag, which is saying clearly stating that it is an unhealthy pattern. Then comes self sabotage cycles. So, what is self sabotage? This is one thing that I really love. This is one thing that I really love. I want to repeat that self sabotage. What is self sabotage? You particularly know it's not working out for you. Even then, you still do it. Even then, you still do it. This is one thing that you will see on a daily basis happening. People know, parents know that they need to talk about it, and parents do get psychoeducation classes, which means that teachers having the PTA meeting, parent teacher meeting, or peer meeting, they are told this is not good, you have to change it. Still, they will choose familiarity. They will choose, I can't change now. This is who I am, this I have accepted, others should accept. That sense of responsibility they do not take for these patterns, that will lead to self sabotage, and they consciously take the effort not to change it because they know this, they just need to change it from here to here, that's all, from here to here, but they still don't do it, which will lead into more chaos. Okay, it will lead into more chaos and it will not change your life at all or your situation scenarios, whatever you want to call it. So that is one thing about self sabotage, and this is something that people do on a daily basis. Why change? It's a lot of effort. Simple enough. Simple, clear understanding. Why change? This is a whole understanding. Then another thing that you can easily identify an unhealthy pattern is you might feel that the same kind of people, the toxic, same kind of people are being attracted to your life. Wherever you go, you tend to move places, you tend to shift your position, but still drama follows you. You attract the same kind of toxic people again and again and again. No way you try to change the scenario, it's not changing. This is because even with the awareness, you unconsciously and consciously involve with the same people. And breaking the pattern is quite difficult, but with small steps, it's easy. As I told earlier, over familiarity of the situations. So basically, you are so much familiar, and I can't change. This is the easier way. There are many biases that play into this. If you look at pattern,
Confirmation bias talks
so
about
one particular thing is called as the how we tend to notice these certain aspects in that scenario or situation, whatever it is, and then we pick on that particular thing which we believe. Suppose I feel and I believe that people tend to leave once there is a fight. Okay, people tend to abandon me. That is my belief. So, in every single fight, small or big, I would tend to confirm that they will leave me and I will choose to leave before the situation, or I will choose not to engage with them anymore. Conformity bias. You tend to particularly cling on to those informations in the situation scenarios to confirm your beliefs. Then there is another one called as the mere exposure effect. People who have not been exposed to many different things and they have been only exposed to one certain kind of stimuli, they tend to prefer the certain kind of stimuli rather than understanding the whole thing. So, supposing I close the lid on this particular person, okay, this is a this is a person who has been this is a person who has been closed, and they don't have any exposure to any other situations in life. What happens is once this is open, their area of exposure will tend to remain in this particular area. They do not want to be exposed to other kind of things. This particularly happens when people do not travel and they don't have any exposure to any cultural components. So they tend to have that kind of a biased opinion towards others. So that is one particular situations. Stereotypes also do come up from these. There are many biases that is involved, but familiarity or the mere exposure effect is something that can cause this. Then comes then there is this beautiful thing, self-fulfilling prophecy. You tend to believe in something, you will make it happen. So this is one thing that I love. So supposing you say that maths is hard, maths will definitely be hard. Even though if it is hard, it will become more hard. You won't even try to take any efforts to do otherwise. Suppose you say that I will never cook, I will never be able to do this thing, I will never be able to be successful. You will not find any particular way to improve your situation. You will remain in that negative loop always, and that negative loop will ultimately make you reach nowhere. The part of efforts will not happen. That is one thing. So, confirmation bias, familiarity principle, self fulfilling prophecy. Then there is an evolutionary principle which is called as a negativity bias. Negativity bias is basically by evolutionary principle. The whole idea is that we tend to focus on the negatives. That is also we'll tend to focus on the past, and we take out certain situations to anticipate the future so that we reduce the possible negative outcomes. But however, in real life, right now we don't need to run from any predators. We ourselves are the predators to ourselves and to others. So in that case, negativity bias plays out that we tend to focus on the negatives than the positives. Even though there are out of 100 there are 80 positives, we tend to focus on the 20 negatives rather than the positives. This is something that plays out in children very much. Children will tend to pick on the one negative part that the parent actually focuses on rather than the positive things. And this is a conditioned stimuli, and this is a conditioned experience for us. And unless and until you choose to stay on the positives, it's not possible that you get out of the negative. So that is there. Then comes, as I told, status quo. Status quo is basically like, I am like this, I will always be like this, I like this. So that whole concept of homeostasis, everybody wants to tend to be in the same position wherever be it, or if there is chaos they want to come back to the same position. So that tends to actually play a huge effect on understanding patterns and understanding these situations that actually come back again and again in life. So this is one particular thing that you need to focus on to understand patterns, whether it's healthy or unhealthy. You can be in the same house and you can have very bad patterns, which is very common in everyday life. So understanding that is very important. So how do you break patterns? How do you break them? Simple enough. I told you, in everything that I say you will get an answer. Okay, if you look, you hear closely, look closely, you will see that I am telling you the answer also. I told one is awareness, understanding the situation, understanding your point of view, understanding the second party's point of view or the third party's point of view. Once you start understanding and realizing it, you are not going to be egocentric. That means everything does not revolve around you, but everything has its own position in place. Okay, so awareness is very important about your thoughts, about your feelings, about your emotions, about your behaviors. It should be there. You should understand that your thoughts are yours alone, your actions are yours alone, your emotions are yours alone. It is not someone else's that you have to correct. Correct yourself, other things will fall in place. Look at the chaos theory if you want. Chaos is needed to bring order. Everything happens in the opposites. So start from yourselves, look into your masks, look into your unconscious. It should benefit you only. It will benefit you only at the end of the day. Then, after awareness comes action, intervention. How can you change it? So, if you're a person who tends to stick into the negative side, write down 10 positive things in the morning. Understand what gratitude is. Practice gratitude. Write down for starting. Say that I'm a good person. Say thank you. Say I love you. Simple words. It makes a huge difference. Say I forgive you to yourself in the mirror. Simple things. People will say that you are crazy, but ultimately, if it benefits you, why should you even think about other people? That is what I'm saying. They don't they don't fund you, they don't give you money. So what is the need of actually satisfying them? Satisfy yourself first and start by understanding and staying more into the positive side. Okay, then comes exposure. Try identifying facts from just mere statements or just uh, information. I state facts, identify facts when there are a lot of information. Social media is full of so much crap that you have to identify facts versus just blatant statements which is made, and understand that situations are different. Suppose there is a minority people, or people in, let's say, discriminated people. Understand their point of view also, not just yours. If there is a situation, everybody says men and women are wired separately and differently. That is true, but that doesn't mean that you can't make any conscious efforts to change the situation. It all depends on you, it all depends on the way and your caliber is. Simple enough. If you want to make a difference, you can make a difference, right? So it all depends on your efforts. Then what you can do is new habits. New habits. Yesterday there was a client who was very sad. Okay, for no reason. For no reason. I was taking a counseling session, and that particular person was very sad, and I needed them to come out of that for a particular therapeutic exercise that I wanted to do for them. So what happened is, I simply said this one thing. I know you're going to be grossed out on what I'm going to show. I said, put your finger in your nose. I literally said that. Put the finger in your nose, and now you be sad. Till the moment that you are sad, you have to put the finger in your nose. There are multiple ways, but I tend to go on to these sites so that I get them and get back easily. Um, so all of a sudden, that person was grossed out. He was like, no, I'm not going to do it. uh, I said, why not? I'm asking you to do it. And that person said, no, I can't. I said, I'm telling you to do it. He said that so the person said, no ways, I'm not doing it. I can't do it. I said, why? Nobody does it. I said, you do it in the toilet, or you do it when you do your morning routine goes on, but that is different. I can't do it in front of you. All of a sudden, that particular statement, we talked about it for 5 minutes, and I got him out of that particular situation. Like this, simple. So I'm not saying to put your finger in the to put your finger in your nose. I'm saying that identify new habits is very important. So once you start identifying new habits, the best part is that you can come out of these patterns easily. It will be very difficult at first, but it will easily help you out in the long run. So suppose you are angry and you want to talk in a constructive way. You just say 5 minutes, I'll just come back. Simple enough. Or you just take a glass of water, drink it. Drink it with each gulp, not like this, slowly, one sip at a time. Slowly focus on the way that the water goes down your esophagus, into your stomach, into your digestive tract. Focus on that. Change your focus, shift your focus, build new behaviors and hobbies. After a long weekend, sorry, a long week, for 2 days, don't sit idle at home. Incorporate some new hobbies. Draw, do Sudoku, do some math puzzles, or go out. Have micro travel, micro destinations that you can actually go to. Small, small things which can make a huge difference and impact. So, these are things that you can easily do. Write down your anger, fold it across, or crush it, put it into the dustbin. Simple enough. No other thoughts needed. Simple. You can do that. If you want, cook or take out the anger in some other way. Go to the gym or go walking. These are new habits that you can incorporate into your daily lives. Then take accountability, which is very important. I was this. I don't want to be that anymore. Once you are aware of your patterns, make sure that you are very well diligent enough to not go back into that pattern ever again. Because if you go back, it is going to be the loop. Same thing in repeat. Nothing ever changes thereafter. It will be the same pattern repeating again and again, just like the serpent that bites its tail. It goes back again and again. It's of no use. It has a different meaning, and it is more into the meaningful side. But I'm saying the dog biting the tail, serpent biting the tail, it's a pattern. The infinity sign has a lot of meanings, but still, given the situation, take accountability. Sitting simply without doing anything, taking action, not taking action is also a choice. Not taking action means you have made a choice not to do it. On the next opposite is that I will do it. Then there is a third option. Let's not talk about it. Sitting idle, doing nothing, not taking up responsibility. That also is an option for people who can't understand this and that. Yes and no, black and white. I'm introducing a third option, which is not to involve at all. That also is an option. So, identifying patterns is very important. I hope you got to understand something out of this. And if that is the starting, good for you. And I would encourage that you start identifying your patterns. It, let's say, maybe if it's not for you, for the next generation, your children, your family, your relationships. At least, if not for you, for them. Be the better person. See and understand the concept of karma. Do good, get good. It's not about this lifetime or the next. It's about what you are. Live in the moment, identify things. It builds you more understanding. The road ahead is rocky, but whether if you want to be in the mudslide or whether you want to be in a slight rocky road which you are easily, which you can easily tread on, that is your choice. Walk barefoot. That really helps. When is the last time you went into nature? When is the last time you had a garden? If you have a garden, when is the last time that you actually went into the garden and observed? Small, small changes, not big ones. Smallest of the small changes brings a lot of change. Do join us. Click on the link in the bio or click on the subscribe button. Keep yourself posted on the podcast and new releases. You can definitely check it out. Check out our page. We have healing sessions. If you have any doubts, you can contact us. Do drop comments below. Bye bye.